Okay, the very first question is solving the equation. Now, before you solve an equation, you should know what type of equation is this. Now, what type of equation is this? What do we call this equation? It's a linear, right? And we all know this is an equation from equals to sign, right? We have equals to here, so this is an equation. Now, let's solve this linear equation. And the very first step is that we get rid of this parenthesis. Okay, we distribute 3, we distribute 2. Okay, so 3 times x, that is 3x, plus 3 times positive 4, positive 12, negative 2 times positive 2x, negative 4x, negative 2 times positive 1, negative 2 equals to 13. We look for the like terms. These two are like terms, that is negative x. Then we have positive 12 and negative 2 like terms. So that's positive 10 equals to 13. Solving means we are making our positive x by itself in one side. So let's get rid of positive 10 by subtracting 10 on both sides. We have negative x equals to positive 3. Now x, it still has a negative in front of it. So let's get rid of this by dividing both sides by negative 1. And we have x equals to negative 3. This is our final answer. Okay. And you should know what you had answered yesterday on your exam paper. Okay. So this is for linear equation. In number B, what is the type of equation for number B? It's an absolute value equation, right? So you see these two vertical line. So this tells this is an absolute value expression. We have a equals to, and this is absolute value equation. Now, whenever you have an absolute value equation, you have to use the definition, and I did give that definition on your formula sheet. So if you have absolute value of x equals to positive number a, then you have to rewrite this equation without absolute value sign, and you get two equations. So x equals to positive of this a, or x equals to negative of a. Every time, okay, if you have absolute value equation, you always get two equation. Now let's do that. So you just write down whatever you have inside absolute value. We have x plus 6 equals to positive of this 7, positive 7, or x plus 6 equals to negative of this 7. And I did found, not sure, but do not change anything. Okay, so I did found some of you had x minus 6. Okay, you just write down whatever you have inside this absolute value sign. X plus 6 equals to positive of this right number, positive 7, then x plus 6 equals to negative 7. Okay, now we have two equation. Now let's solve these two linear equation. You subtract 6 here, we have x equals to positive 1, or you do the same thing, subtract 6 here, and we get x equals to negative 13. Okay, so this is the solution for this absolute value equation. Any question for part A, part 1? Okay, now let's go to the number B. In number B, $2,800 loan is paid back in 3 years with a simple interest. Okay, so you had a loan of $2,800, okay, and you paid that loan after 3 years. The amount paid back was $3,888. What was the simple interest rate? Now every time if you see this simple interest, we have a formula, and the formula is simple interest I is equals to principal time and rate. Okay, if you see simple interest, this is the formula you will be using. Now here, to use this formula, we should know the interest. Now what is the interest here? So you borrowed $2,800. After 3 years, you paid back $3,888. Now what is the interest? Is interest 3,888? That's the total amount including your loan. So the difference is interest. Okay, so you find the interest, and the interest is difference of this amount and loan amount. So our interest is 3,888 minus 2,800. Okay, that's the interest. And principal is the loan amount. Okay, principal is loan amount, which is 2,800. Now this T is time. What is the time? So how long did you use the loan? For 3 years. So 3 is the time. And rate, this is what we want to find. So we want to find the rate. Okay, your interest I is always the difference of amount and principal. This is amount. Okay, this is principal. 3 years is time, and we are asked to find the rate. Now, so this is 1,088 equals to 2,800 times 3. Okay, can you help me here? What is 2,800 times 3? Is it 8,400?
Yes.
Time R. Now let's get rid of 8,400 by dividing both sides by 8,400. We are solving for R, so we want our R by itself. So this cancels, so it should be 12.9% equals to rate. Oh, we get 0.129, right? Then we can, okay, is it 0.129 equals to R? And we write R in percentage. You multiply by 100 and we get 12.9%. So this is how we find the simple interest. Any question? Okay, can I go to the next, number 3? You will have very similar question on your final exam. Okay, like you will be asked to solve a linear equation on your final exam. You will be asked to solve absolute value equation. You will have very example very similar this to this one. Okay, so I want you to understand this. So if you know exam 1, you almost prepared like 20% of your final exam. Okay, so if you have any question, please let me know. Okay, now let's go to the next one. So here we have quadratic equation, and we are asked to solve by factoring method. Okay, so the very first step is we rewrite our quadratic equation in a standard form. Standard form means we make a 0 in one side, which we already have. So we have 0 on the right side. The second step is we factorize the left side. Now we have x squared minus 9x plus 20. Now what method do we use to factorize this trinomial? FOIL. Okay, this is, now it has the coefficient of square term is 1. If the coefficient of square term is positive 1, we use FOIL method. Okay, so let's use FOIL method. Now can you think of a first term whose product is x squared? X, right? So x is the first term. Now let's find two number. Let me call PQ. So let's find two number whose product is positive 20 and sum is negative 9. So let's find two number whose product P times Q has to be positive 20 and sum of these two number has to be negative 9. Can you think of two number whose product is positive 20, sum is negative 9? Negative 4, negative 5. Negative 4 times negative 5, positive 20. Negative 4 plus negative 5, that is negative 9. So our P and Q are negative 4 and negative 5. Okay, so we factorize here equals to 0. Now once you have the factor, you take each factor and set it equals to 0. So first factor x minus 4, set it equals to 0. Second factor x minus 5 equals to 0. Okay, now these are linear equation. We know how to solve. You add 4, so our x is 4. Then in the second equation you add 5 and our x is 5. So these two are the solution for this quadratic equation, and this is factorization. Okay. Any question on factoring? So if you know this is what you had as your final answer, then you have 5 points for this exam, for this question. Okay. Now let's go to the next one, which is completing the square. Okay. So we have the quadratic equation and we are solving this by completing the square. The very first step is that we collect the terms with x in one side, okay, and we take the constant on the other side. So we have to get rid of -2. And how do we get rid of -2? By adding 2 on both sides. So we have x square -4x equals to +2. This is the first step, collecting the terms with x in one side, constant on the other side. What is the second step? We make the coefficient of square term equals to +1. Now what is the coefficient of this square term? It's already +1. So we skip this step. Now let's go to the next step. In that step, we take the coefficient of x. You take the coefficient of x, divide it by 2. So we get 2. You square it and you are adding 2 square on both sides of this equation. So you add 2 square on both sides of this equation. So we have x square -4x plus 2 square. You are adding 2 square on both sides. Okay. So you add 2 square on both sides. And this is how we find what number to add on both sides. Now the next step, we rewrite this trinomial on the left as a square of a binomial. For that, you take x from here. So we have x. You take 2 from here. So we have 2. You take the sign of middle term. We have negative, parenthesis, and square. Equals to, this is 2 plus 2 square, which is 4, that is 6. Now what is the next step? We get rid of square. Now if you want to get rid of square from left side, what do we get on a right side? We get positive or negative square root of this 6. Okay, every time if you want to get rid of square, always you will have positive, negative square root. Now we are almost done. So you add 2 on both sides, and we have our x by itself on the left side. On the right side, we have positive, negative square root of 6 plus 2, and this is the final answer. Okay, so these are the solution. Or you can rewrite this as you take positive square root of 6 plus 2. Now you take negative square root of 6 plus 2. You can have any format, this or this. Okay, it's the same thing. So this is how we solve quadratic equation by using completing this square method. Any question? Okay, now the next here we have number 5. In number 5, we are asked to solve the quadratic equation by using quadratic formula. The very first step is we make a 0 in one side, so we subtract 3 on both sides. So we have 3x squared plus x minus 3 equals to 0. Then we compare this equation with its standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. We find a. Our a is 3. What is b? 1, right? Positive 1. And c is constant -3. And formula is given to you. Substitute this in our formula. -b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So negative b, that is negative b is 1 plus minus b squared, that is 1 squared minus 4 times a, that is 3 times c is -3 divided by 2 times 3. Now this is -1 as it is, Then we have 1 square is 1. Negative 4 times 3, negative 12 times negative 3, that is positive 36 divided by 6. And this is negative 1 plus minus square root of 37 divided by 6. And this is our final answer. If you had this number on your exam paper, then it's correct, okay? Or you can just write two different numbers here. Okay, any question in quadratic formula? Okay, now the next here, we need to find all real solutions of rational equation. So here we have a rational equation, we have to find solution, or we have to find the value of x. What is the first step of solving rational equation? Finding a common denominator. And what is the common denominator here? We only have one denominator, right? And if you have only one denominator, the same expression will be the common denominator. See, so remaining expression, so x has a denominator 1, negative 8 has a denominator 1, okay? And this 5 has a denominator x plus 2. If this is the case, then x plus 2 is the common denominator. And once you have the common denominator, you multiply each expression by common denominator. So you multiply each expression by common denominator. You multiply x by common denominator. You multiply negative 8 by common denominator, x plus 2. Okay? Now this x plus 2, this x plus 2 cancel. So we have 5 plus x times x plus 2 equals to negative 8 times x plus 2. Now this is very similar to question number 1, right? Solving linear equation. Now you get rid of parentheses. So you have 5x times x square, x times positive 2, positive 2x equals to negative 8 times x, negative 8x, negative 8 times positive 2, negative 16. Now this is a quadratic equation, so let's make it 0 in one side. You add 8x on both sides. You add 16 on both sides. So we have 0 on right side. Let me start with x square. So we have x square. These two are like terms, positive 10x. These two are like terms, positive 21 equals to 0. Now here you can use factorization, quadratic formula, or completing this square. We can factorize easily, so let's use factorization. Can you think of a first term whose product is x square? It's x, right? Now let's find two numbers whose product is positive 21 and sum is positive 10. Positive 7, positive 3, positive 7, positive 3. Now we set each factor equals to 0. First factor equals to 0. Second factor equals to 0. This is a linear equation. We know how to solve this linear equation. And our x is negative 7 or x is negative 3. And this is how we solve this rational equation. So very first step is finding the common denominator. If you find the common denominator, use that denominator to multiply each expression, then you will get rid of denominator, and the remaining is solving quadratic equation or linear equation. Okay, any question on this part? So if you have negative 7, negative 3, then you get 10 points for part 6. Okay, in number 7, what do we call this equation? What is this equation? Do you recall the name? We have square root of 3x plus 4 plus 2 equals to x. This is an equation, but what do we call it? What is the name? Radical equation. Okay, we have a square root. If you have a cube root or if you have a radical expression, so this is the radical expression. And if you see radical expression in an equation, this is a radical equation. And what is the first step of solving radical equation? We collect radical expression in one side, okay, and these two are not radical expression. We collect these two together. It means we get rid of positive 2 from left side, and we do that by subtracting 2 on both sides. So we have square root of 3x plus 4 equals to x minus 2. Now the next step, we need to get rid of square root. Now in order to get rid of square root on the left side, what do? How do we get rid of square root? We take a power 2 on both sides. So you square on both sides. So you square on both sides. Then this square and square root, it's gone. So we have 3x plus 4 equals to x minus 2 square, that is x minus 2 times x minus 2. Now let's simplify. So we have 3x plus 4 on our left side. Let's use FOIL. X times x, x square, x times negative 2, negative 2x, negative 2 times x, negative 2x, negative 2 times negative 2, positive 4. This is a quadratic equation. Let's make one side 0. You subtract 3x on both sides. You subtract 4 on both sides. So we have 0 on our left side equals to x square. So these are like terms. That is negative 7x. This is 0. Now 0, let's use a factorization for this quadratic equation. You factor out x. We have x minus 7. Now you take, we have a 2 factor. You take each factor equals to 0. And this is the same equation that we had in a review, right? Oh, okay. I hope you all have this correct. Hopefully, I haven't checked, but okay, we are adding 7 on both sides. So our x is 0 or x is 7. So these are the solution for this radical equation. Any question? Can I go to the next, number 8? Okay, number 8. So here we have a complex number. Now in the first part, we have a 2 complex number, 3 plus 2i and negative 4 plus 3i. Now what sign do we have in between these 2 complex number? Negative, right? So we are finding the difference. We are not using FOIL here, okay? We have to find the difference. So let's get rid of parentheses. So we have 3 plus 2i. So you distribute this negative. Negative times negative 4. That is positive 4. Negative times positive 3. Negative 3i. Now you look for the like terms. 3 plus 4. 7. 2i minus 3i minus i. See, this is easy, right? And this is 5 points. So this should not be difficult. Okay, in part B, we have a 2 complex number, 1 plus 4i, 2 minus 3i. What sign do we have in between these 2 complex number? If it's nothing, it's always product, right? So we have to multiply these 2 complex number. And multiplication of a complex number is same as multiplying the algebraic expression. Now here you use the FOIL. So 1 times 2. 2, 1 times negative 3i, negative 3i, 4i times 2, that is positive 8i, 4i times negative 3i, negative 12i square. Now you look for the like term. So this and these are like terms, which is 5i. What do we know about I square? It is always minus 1. So negative 12 times negative I, that is positive 12. So these are like terms, 14 plus 5i. So this is a product of these 2 complex number. Okay. So if you are multiplying the complex number, then you use the FOIL. but if you are adding or subtracting complex number, you do not use FOIL. We use FOIL only when we are multiplying binomial and binomial. Okay, in part C, so we have a negative number under square root, and if you have a negative number under square root, we always have to rewrite. We need to get rid of this negative sign. Okay, so we can rewrite a negative 4 as a negative 1 times 4, and we can rewrite negative 9 as a negative 1 times 9. Now what do we know about negative 1? Negative 1 is I square, right? And we have 4 as it is. Negative 1 is I square, 9 as it is. Now we find the square root here. So square root of I square is I, square root of 4 is 2. So this is I square. Square root of I square is I, square root of 9 is 3. You are multiplying. So 2 times 3 is 6, I times I square. Do not always replace your I square by negative 1. So we have 6 times negative 1. Negative 6 is the final answer. So if you have negative 6, then it's correct. So square root of negative 4 times square root of negative 9 is negative 6. Any question? Okay. Now let's go to the next one. So what do we call this expression? What is this? What kind of inequality? We had a two type of inequality. We had a linear inequality and a absolute value inequality, and this is a linear, right? So linear, and this is very similar or similar to solving an equation. So we make x by itself in one side. Okay, so let's make x by itself. So we do have a like terms. So let's collect like terms. So you subtract 5x and you bring 5x here. So we have negative 12x plus 3 greater than negative 2. Now positive 3 and negative 2 are like terms. So you subtract 3 on both sides. This is negative 12x greater than negative 5. Now we need to get rid of negative 12. For that, you divide both sides by negative 12. And whenever you divide by negative number, what do you have to do? You have to flip that inequality sign. And some of you forgot to flip that. So this is x. So you are not writing greater than anymore. You are writing less than 5/12. Okay, some of you forgot to switch this inequality. So every time if you are dividing or multiplying an inequality by negative number, make sure to flip that inequality. Okay, now do not forget to have your final answer in an interval notation. For that, I would recommend using a number line. So we have a negative infinity, positive infinity. Let's say 5/12 is here. Now there is no equals to sign. Okay, this is strictly less than, no equals to. It means 5/12 is not a solution. So open circle. Now where do we find x which is less than 5/12? On the left or on the right? It's on the left. So every number on the left of 5/12 is the solution. Now we rewrite this green yellow region in a interval notation. This is starting from negative infinity, ending at 5/12. With infinity, always parenthesis. Open circle at 5/12, so parenthesis. And this is the final answer. I mean, you don't need to draw the graph, but that's what I would recommend, okay? So that you won't have any mistake. But you must have an interval notation, but graphing is not mandatory to get a full points here. Any question? Okay, now the next B, here we have, you see these vertical lines. So this is absolute value inequality. And if we have absolute value inequality, we have two definition. Okay, you have to pick the correct definition to use. So we have a greater than here. Okay, so on your formula sheet, you might have seen this. So if you have absolute value of x greater than positive number a, then we can rewrite this as a x less than negative a or x greater than positive a. So you have a greater than, here you have a greater than, so you are using this greater than definition. So we rewrite whatever we have inside absolute value, 3x plus 10, then less than negative of this, negative 5, or you write same expression, 3x plus 10, then greater than positive of that 5, which is 5. Now we have two inequality, and these two inequalities very similar to inequality A. Okay, now let's solve this. So you subtract 10 on a both side. I think for a both inequality you subtract 10. So we have 3x less than negative 15. So here we have 3x greater than negative 5. Now we need to get rid of 3. You divide by 3. We use a positive number, so inequality remains same. So x, we have a less than, so you get a less than negative 5, or x, you have a greater than, we use a positive number, so greater than negative 5 over 3. So this is the solution. Now we want our answer in an interval notation, so let's draw a number line. So we have negative infinity, positive infinity. Now which one is smaller, negative 5 or negative 5 over 3? Negative 5. Smaller number has to be on the left, okay, on the number line. So let's say negative 5 is here, negative 5 over 3 is here. Now we do not have equals to. This is strictly less than, this is strictly greater than. It means open circle. Okay. Now where do we find x which is less than negative 5? Less than means everything on the left of negative 5. Now where do we find a number greater than negative 5 over 3? Greater than means everything on the right. Now we rewrite this yellow region and green region in an interval notation. So yellow region is starting from negative infinity, it's ending at negative 5. With infinity, always parenthesis. At negative 5, open circle, so parenthesis. And how do you replace this or? By union. So union. Now let's write this green region. It's starting from negative 5 over 3, which has an open circle, means parenthesis. Then it's ending at positive infinity. With infinity, always parenthesis. And this is the final answer. So this is the final answer. Okay, any question? Okay, the next, and we did number 10 on our review. This is the exact same question, right? I think we did this review. Okay, now here, let's see. The mobility rate, the percentage of people who changed the residence for the years 2000 to 2016 can be modeled by the equation. So we have this equation, and this equation give us the mobility rate. It gives us the percentage of people who changed residence. Okay, it means y is mobility rate. Okay, our y is mobility rate or percentage in terms of percentage. So here in our equation we have a t, and t is the number of years since 2000. So t is number of years since 2000. Now this is what is given to us. Mobility rate y, which is 0.0072 t square plus 0.0766 t plus 11.318. T is the number of years since 2000. Now let's read the question. In what year? Now what variable we are asked to find here? Is it t or y? In what year? It means, is it t or y? Y is percentage. y is mobility rate, t is number of years. Now from this two word, can you tell me which variable we are asked to find in what year? It means we want to find, is it t or y? It's t, right? Because t is the years. So our t is unknown. So t is unknown. So in what year between 2000 and 2016 was the mobility rate 12%? Now what is this 12%? Is it t or y? Y. So our y is 12%. Now here you have the equation. So your equation is y equals to 0.0072 t square plus 0.0766 t plus 11.318. Now your y is given as 12. So you replace your y by 12 and you find t. So this is 0.0072 t square plus 0.0766 t plus 11.318. Now how do we find the value of t? What kind of equation is this? Is it a linear or quadratic? Quadratic, right? Because the t is a variable, its power is 2. So this is a quadratic. Now use the quadratic formula to find the value of t. Okay, before you use the quadratic formula, you make 0 in one side, so you subtract 12 on both sides. Okay, then after that you find a, b, c, then you substitute in this formula. Okay, we did this in a review session, so I want you to go back and check that. Okay, divided by 2a, and I think most of you, yeah, some of you had a blank here. Most of you had a, you didn't, I'm not, yeah, you didn't try, or yeah. So this is not difficult. So every time if you have a word problems, at first make a list of what information is given to you. Okay, you should know what is given to you and you should know what is asked. And after that, it's always substitution and solving an equation. Okay, it should not be difficult for. Okay, so this is how we can solve this one. Now next here we have this quadratic equation and we are asked to find all solution. It means real or a complex, and if this is the type of question you see, you always use the quadratic formula because you can't factorize here. So our a is coefficient of square, which is 1, b is 2, c is 3. Now use the formula x equals to negative b plus minus b square minus 4ac divided by 2a. So negative b is 2 plus minus, so b square, that is 2 square minus 4 times a times c, which is 3, divided by 2 times a, which is 1. So this is negative 2 plus minus, that is 4 minus 4 times 3, 12, divided by 2. And this is negative 2 plus minus square root of negative 8 divided by 2. We can't have negative number under the square root. So this is negative 2 plus minus. So you replace this negative by I square. And we can rewrite 8 square as a 8 as a 4 times 2 divided by 2. So this is negative 2 plus minus. Square root of I square is I, square root of 4 is 2, the square root of 2 is 2. So this is the final answer. And I found some of you, now you can't cancel these 2 and these 2. You can't, okay? And in the similar way, some of you also had, you cancelled these 2 and these 2. No. The only way to cancel here is if you have your numerator and denominator in a product form, then you can cancel. Now here, in between negative 2 and in this expression, what sign do we have? We don't have now in between negative 2 and this expression, do we have multiplication? We have plus or minus. Now this is the case where you can't cancel. Okay, if you instead of plus or minus, if you had something like multiplication, then yes, you can cancel these 2, or these 2. But we don't have that multiplication. Okay, what we have here is that we have plus or minus. So you can't cancel. Now if you want to cancel, what you can do here is that you can factor out 2. So you factor out 2 from numerator, then we have negative 1 plus minus I times square root of 2 divided by 2. Now in between 2 and this expression, what sign do you have? Now do you have that product sign? Now it means now you can cancel. Now these 2 and these 2 can be cancelled, and the final answer is negative 1 plus minus I times square root of 2. This is the final answer. So before you cancel numerator and denominator, make sure your numerator and denominator is in a product form. It has to be in a product form, then only you can cancel. Okay, any question? Okay, the last bonus question, we have the rational equation. Okay, and the very first step is we find the common denominator. So let's collect our denominator, x squared plus 3x minus 4, second denominator x minus 1, third denominator x plus 4. Now factorize this using a FOIL method. So we get the 2 factor, x is the first term. Now let's find the two number whose product is negative 4 and sum is positive 3. Can you think of a two number whose product is negative 4 and sum is positive 3? Positive 4, negative 1. X minus 1 itself is a factor. X plus 4 itself is a factor. So our common denominator is, you look for the common factor. X plus 4 is common. You write down once x plus 4. Then we have next common, x minus 1 common, and you write down x minus 1 once. So this is your common denominator. Now you multiply each expression by this common denominator. X plus 4 times x minus 1. X plus 4, x minus 1. X plus 4, x minus 1. I think we did solve this on our review session, if I'm not wrong. Did we solve this one? Okay. Now, once you multiply each expression by your common denominator, every denominator has to go away, okay? So this expression and this is exactly same, so cancel. X minus 1 cancel. X plus 4 cancel. Now we have 2 plus 1 times x plus 4 equals to negative 6 times x minus 1. See, the major step is finding common denominator. Once you get rid of common denominator, we have a linear equation, and we know how to solve this one. So this is 2 plus x plus 4 equals to negative 6x positive 6. Now let's collect like terms. You add 6x, subtract 2, subtract 4. So this is 0. So we have 7x equals to, this is 0, this is 0. So our x is 0. And this is the final answer for this